It started with a pain she could not ignore, a sharp ache that tightened around her chest and stole her breath at the most inconvenient moments. Aaliyah Thompson, 32, tired from long shifts and juggling life as a single mother, knew something was wrong, but the world around her seemed intent on telling her it wasn't. She walked into the city clinic, the rain-slick streets reflecting her fatigue back at her. She tried to explain the symptoms, every word careful, measured, hoping that if she spoke clearly, someone would finally hear her. Dr. Gregory Hall, seasoned and confident, brushed her off almost immediately. "Stress," he said. "Too much work, not enough sleep. Come back if it gets worse, but don't worry." The words landed heavier than the ache itself. They were the kind of words that made a person question their own reality. Aaliyah left the clinic that day with a knot of frustration in her chest, wondering if anyone would ever truly listen. And yet, she carried on, because life did not pause for uncertainty. Her daughter, Jasmine, 7 years old, needed breakfast, lunch, school, guidance, and warmth, and Aaliyah would not fail her. But inside, the fear grew, small at first, then relentless, gnawing at every quiet moment, at every night when she could no longer distract herself with chores or work. And as the city lights blurred past the window of the bus that carried her home, Aaliyah's thoughts spiraled. Why did it feel like the system was designed to ignore her? Why did it seem impossible for a black woman to be taken seriously in a space where health, life, and expertise should be the only measure? That day, she realized that the fight was not just against pain in her chest. It was against a world that refused to listen, that dismissed voices like hers, quietly, systematically, and yet with enormous consequence. The next morning, she returned to her duties, determined not to show weakness, determined to continue protecting children who had no voice, while she herself struggled to be heard. Every cough, every sharp inhalation reminded her that the situation was escalating. She tried again, calling the clinic, insisting for tests, insisting for attention, but Dr. Hale's dismissive tone cut through the phone line like a blade. "We've seen this before," he said. "You just need rest. Nothing serious." It was the kind of dismissal that could be fatal, and Aaliyah knew it. She started keeping notes, tracking every symptom, every moment of dizziness, every spike of pain. She documented, carefully, meticulously, in case she needed proof later. She confided in her neighbor, Linda, who listened quietly, nodding with concern, offering both moral support and practical advice. But the weight of responsibility, the fear of failure, pressed down harder than the physical pain ever could. Days passed, symptoms worsened, yet she endured because she had to. Jasmine depended on her. Her job demanded it. And in a society that often ignored black women, enduring was the only immediate option. Then came the first incident at work, a sharp collapse that left her on the floor of the social services office, her body trembling, her vision swimming. Colleagues rushed to her side, panic in their eyes, but fear and disbelief in hers. She knew that if she had ignored this moment, if she had trusted Dr. Hale's words once again, she might not have been able to recover. It was the turning point. Aaliyah realized that she could not rely on a system that dismissed her. She would have to fight for her own life, quietly, carefully, methodically. And so she began to gather evidence, phone recordings, written notes, testimony from Marcus, the young medbrat who had reluctantly witnessed Dr. Hale's dismissive behavior, hoping one day that truth would matter more than authority. She researched relentlessly, understanding her body better than ever, reading medical studies, consulting reputable online resources, preparing herself for the moment when she could no longer remain ignored. But through it all, she never let fear dominate completely. Her love for Jasmine, her dedication to the children she worked with, reminded her that perseverance could be a form of resistance, that staying alive, staying vigilant, was itself a small victory against the injustice of being ignored. The situation escalated, every breath a challenge, every heartbeat a reminder of the system's failure, but Aaliyah persisted. She learned to advocate for herself in ways that demanded attention, ways that could not be brushed aside, ways that required courage she had not known she possessed. And in the quiet hours of the night, she reflected on the countless women like her, voices muffled by prejudice, faces unseen, concerns dismissed. She made a promise. She would not allow this moment to end in silence. She would not be just another ignored story. She would fight not only for herself, but for everyone who could not. And here, before we continue, I want to ask you, our viewers, where you are watching from today, who you are, and what city you call home. If this story already resonates with you, take a moment to like this video and consider subscribing to our channel so you don't miss stories like this one. Stories about courage, justice, and the human spirit. This is a story about being ignored, but it is also a story about what happens when someone refuses to be invisible. The day arrived when Aaliyah could no longer ignore the truth of her own body. The chest pains had become unbearable, and every step felt like a challenge against her own will. She returned to the clinic, insisting again, demanding tests, refusing to leave until someone acknowledged the seriousness of her condition. Dr. Holly looked at her with the same dismissive eyes, the same cold, practiced calm that had become unbearable. "You've already been here," he said. "Nothing new will change the outcome." But Aaliyah refused to be silenced. She presented the meticulous notes she had kept, the recordings of conversations where her concerns had been dismissed, and the careful documentation of symptoms that had worsened over time. Marcus, the medbrat who had quietly supported her, finally spoke up, pointing out what he had observed, the inconsistencies, the danger of ignoring her condition. Dr. Hale's face flickered with annoyance, disbelief, and finally, a reluctant acknowledgement. And yet, it was not his recognition that mattered most. The clinic had failed her too many times already, and she knew it. Aaliyah asked to see another doctor, and that decision changed everything. Dr. Priya Singh, a compassionate and sharp physician, listened immediately, acknowledging the symptoms with the seriousness they deserved. She ordered tests without hesitation, and the results confirmed Aaliyah's worst fears: a rare heart condition, one that could have become fatal if left untreated. Treatment began immediately, precise and life-saving, and for the first time in weeks, Aaliyah felt a measure of relief. She realized that her persistence had not only saved her life, but had also revealed the dangerous negligence in a system designed to ignore her. The struggle had been more than physical. It had been an assertion of her right to be heard, respected, and taken seriously. As the days passed, she recovered, slowly regaining strength, all while reflecting on the fight she had endured. She thought of Jasmine, who had watched her mother battle fear and exhaustion with quiet courage. She thought of Marcus, whose support, though timid at first, had become essential. She thought of every person who had been dismissed, ignored, or underestimated because of their race, gender, or social position. And she understood something fundamental. Courage was not simply surviving. It was standing up when the world told you to sit down, insisting on your own humanity, refusing to be invisible. Aaliyah began to share her experience, quietly at first, with friends and neighbors, then online, offering guidance and support for others facing similar injustices. Her story became a small ripple, reaching people who had felt unseen for years. And it reminded them that advocacy, documentation, and persistence could be tools of survival and change. Dr. Holly faced scrutiny, an internal investigation that revealed repeated negligence and dismissal of patients' concerns, particularly those from marginalized backgrounds. The clinic was forced to reevaluate its procedures, training staff to listen, to respond, to value every voice equally. And Aaliyah's experience became a case study in the cost of ignorance and the power of persistence. Marcus, once hesitant, found recognition for his integrity, proving that courage can emerge even in those who fear consequences. And Aaliyah, stronger than before, understood that her fight had been about more than herself. It was about justice, about ensuring that voices like hers would no longer be ignored, about teaching the world that listening is a responsibility, and that the cost of neglect can be deadly. She returned to her daughter with gratitude and determination, knowing that life was fragile, but also profoundly precious, and that her fight for recognition, for validation, for survival, had been worthwhile beyond measure. In the quiet moments after the storm, Aaliyah reflected on what she had learned. That persistence in the face of dismissal is itself a form of justice, that advocating for oneself can ripple outward, changing institutions, saving lives and inspiring courage in others. She realized the true power is not held in authority alone, but in the unwavering insistence on being heard, on insisting that human life and dignity cannot be ignored. And as she walked through the city streets, breathing deeply, feeling her heart steady, she carried a quiet but unshakable pride. She had refused to be invisible. She had fought, and she had won. And now, we want to hear from you. How would you have reacted if you were in Aaliyah's shoes? Have you ever felt ignored by a system that should have protected you? Share your experiences in the comments below, because your story matters. If this story resonated with you, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss more stories of courage, justice, and the human spirit. Every voice deserves to be heard, and every act of persistence can change the course of a life.